The nuclear debate is about the future, right? It's about whether this country can find a way to reclaim our cheap energy advantage and have a prosperous future. Since the Second World War, we had abundant, reliable and cheap electricity. And that's just not the case anymore. The renewables push, forcing out coal and gas, has put an end to all of that. But one thing the Albanese Labor government will not even consider, they won't even discuss this, is using nuclear energy. Here was the Prime Minister last week.
Well, it doesn't add up. I think nuclear power can work overseas and does work.
Yeah, it can work overseas, but apparently not here. Why on earth not? Surely we can't be right. Australia can't be right, and the UK and the US and Japan and China and Russia and India and South Korea and France and Canada and all the rest of them, they've got it wrong? This isn't a cultural cringe of days gone by. It's more of a scientific cringe, a modernity cringe. Let me show you some wonderful footage from the UK in the 1950s, a report about the world's first commercial nuclear reactor built at Calder Hall in Cumbria, northeast England.
Far below, work started on the intricate task of creating the heart of the reactor, the furnace to draw heat from the new fuel of the atomic age.
Yeah, the POMs were able to do this in the early 1950s. They entered the atomic age. But our own government doesn't think we're up to it right now in the 21st century. Labor reckons it would be too expensive and take too long, and they rubbish claims that a nuclear plant could be operational here inside a decade, even though that's been done in other countries this decade. And then, of course, there's the 1950s.
The running in and final testing had taken place. The reactor was finished. Less than 3 years after the start of construction, the £16 million plant was handed over to the operational staff. The atom was at work.
There you go again. Those pesky POMs, eh? 70 years ago, they built that reactor over just 3 years. But our government reckons we couldn't do it now in 10 years. In Australia, it's the push to renewable energy that has made our power more expensive and less reliable, and it continues, of course, to desecrate vast areas of our landscape.
The government's proposal to build 28,000 kilometres of poles and wires, the whole system that they're talking about costs up to about $1.3 trillion. Now, all of that money is going to be passed on in the form of higher electricity bills, and people are paying through the nose already for their electricity bill under this government, but they haven't seen anything yet. Prices are going to continue to go up, but worse than that, we're going to see blackouts and brownouts and disruption to supply.
Now, we know that Peter Dutton is right because it's already happening. And we know Labor is lying about the cost of the energy transition.
Well, the best guide to the cost is AEMO's Integrated Systems Plan, which, if you like, looked at this in 2024 dollars, in current dollars, looked at the total cost out to 2050 of the entire generation, storage and transmission, and came up at $121 billion.
That is absolute tosh. That figure underestimates the costs by at least half, and probably much more, because it excludes all the solar panels and the batteries and the distribution networks that have already gone in, most with government subsidies, of course, nor does it include all the billions of dollars of investment in this stuff yet to come, and nor does it include the cost of replacing all this kit every 15 to 25 years, as will have to be the case. The renewables push has been going 2 decades already in this country. It's supposed to go another 2 decades or more. It's costing hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's only made electricity more expensive and less reliable. Yet Labor attacks nuclear over costs and timelines. It's just astonishing. And it won't even discuss getting rid of the ban on nuclear.
We've started this discussion about the latest technology, nuclear, because it's zero emissions, It can provide us with cleaner power, but affordable power and reliable power. There are manufacturers in our country at the moment who are shutting up operations and moving offshore. Why would we want that? Why does the government have an energy policy in place which is driving these businesses offshore? We lose the jobs, we lose the economic productivity, we lose the taxes.
Now, the problem is this energy mess is only going to get worse because Labor's only solution to the energy crisis is to double down on exactly what they've been doing. When it comes to our national economy, there is no other issue that comes close to electricity costs and availability. And when it comes to our national security, it's right up there too. And I don't need to tell you, it's pretty important when it comes to the cost of living too. Yet Labor is covering its eyes, blocking its ears and refusing to discuss the only fuel in the world that can supply emissions-free baseload electricity.
The Prime Minister should stand up and debate with me the issue of nuclear and energy in this country. I'll meet him at the press club or wherever he wants at any time. We can have the debate and we need it.
Now, that's not a bad call coming from Peter Dutton, is it? Especially considering what the Prime Minister's been saying about him.
I went to the National Press Club, a venue that Peter Dutton apparently can't find as Liberal leader. I've been there 9 times as Labor leader. He's yet to break his duck.
Well, here's your chance, Albo. Accept the challenge of a nuclear debate at the National Press Club. But today, Albanese would not even give a straight answer to that debate challenge.
Peter Dutton's incapable. He hasn't been to a National Press Club yet. Not once. He's never done. He couldn't find it. He couldn't find it. You'd have to get him a map first, and you'll have to fly down to Canberra and drive him there because he doesn't know where it is.
Well, that's understandable because it is Labor's home ground. It's hardly where coalition MPs go for a Friday night beer. Still, the opposition leader is planning to reveal more detail on his nuclear policy soon, and he's promised to debate the PM on the issue at the National Press Club or anywhere else. And this is a debate the country desperately needs. By the way, I'd be happy to have anyone from the government on this program to discuss the pros and cons of nuclear energy anytime.